Welcome to episode 3 of.
Three.
I know we're already at the third one, Gill. Episode
You Adam and Eve it.
cannot. Episode 3 of Treading the Boards, the amateur theatre podcast. We're very excited to have a new special guest coming up a bit later, and a new topic of the week.
Indeed. Topic of the week.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
No, it's not got any better then.
It's not grown on me as a
thing.
little theme yet. No. Yes. But before we discuss that, how are you doing, Jill? How's your week been?
I'm doing well. My week's been fun, Benjamin. I had a kitchen disco for work Friday night.
Love it.
Absolutely good fun. Basically a chance to just ignore everyone. I think if perhaps you aren't into amateur theatre, it might not be as good fun, but all the kind of techniques of just doing your own thing, don't worry about what anyone else thinks, just get on with it, come into play in a kitchen disco, and you just dance about doing dance routines with your children and drinking gin and tonics and not worrying about anyone else. It's great.
Oh, I love that. That's definitely something for us to do soon, Jill.
Oh, you're calling all local Amdram people who wants to come on a kitchen disco. I've got the playlist ready.
Kitchen disco with some musical theatre songs involved, for sure.
Well, yes,
Although,
yes, Ben, I will add 1 or 2 musical theatre songs for the Amdram kitchen disco. Yes,
they've got to be reasonable ones that you can move along to. Like, you can't have like, I know him so well.
Just me stood there like, ho, 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 ho. No, I was thinking like the Time Warp, maybe, and maybe a Grease medley, because you know
Yes.
what, we love a Grease medley.
Grease medley, or some of the ones like some of the songs in like Priscilla, the disco. Like, I mean, they are disco.
Well, they're probably on the playlist anyway. I'll share my playlist later, Ben.
Share with me your playlist. Yeah.
I will. Do you Spotify? Are you a Spotifyer? Of course,
I
because that's one of our platforms for our podcast, isn't it?
It is. Well, talking about that, we're now on quite a few different platforms, Joe.
Are we, Ben?
We've been approved. They like us. You like me. You really like me.
I'm sure they've not listened.
Well, I've got something else to tell you about that in a second. But we are now, as well as being on Spotify and Google Podcasts and places like that, we are now also on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, for all our friends who don't like anything but apples.
Yeah, and also Amazon Music.
Ooh.
So that's good. We are there as well. But no, when you say they've not listened, Jill, do you want to know something very interesting?
No.
So
yes. All right then.
As the podcast, as like the administrator for the podcast, I get notifications as to rough breakdowns as to who's listening on what.
I get rough breakdowns as well, but it's nothing to do with numbers. It's just me having a
Friday night.
Yep.
But I get a rough breakdown of how things are, and unless it's some sort of like error, bug in the system, apparently 20% of our listeners are not from the United Kingdom.
What?
Yes, apparently.
Hang on. No, that could just be my cousin Liz, who's in France.
Oh, no. We haven't got Europe yet. But I've got apparently 16% in the United States, 4% in Canada.
Stop it.
I know, we're international, Jill.
Crikey, that's very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, granted, the numbers might not be that high who's listening. That 4% might be like one person.
People have listened as one person.
Somebody who's like...
Make it.
Someone in Canada's just shuffled onto it and gone, oh no.
God, I'm not listening to that.
But if you are listening from a different country, well, hello.
Get in touch. Yeah.
Get in touch. We want to know what amateur theatre's like where you live. I'm very intrigued. We'll have you as a guest. Let us know.
Yeah, definitely. But also hi to my cousin Liz, listening near Paris, who's already commented and said she'll come on as a guest. She's done Mamma Mia in French.
Oh, we've definitely got to get her on as a guest.
I know.
That is really exciting.
Really exciting. Mamma Mia. Oh.
Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of it is French, like voulez-vous.
Interestingly, when you ask me in a minute about the topic of the week, shall I sing it again? We here in this house have been watching a lot of French television because my Ben, not you, Ben, my Ben, is doing French A-level, and one of his bits of homework was to watch French television. So actually, some of my recommendations for what could be made into a musical are in French.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, me and my fancy European name.
I know when I was learning French one time, someone gave me like a French DVD of the Teletubbies.
Right.
And
That's not what I'm recommending, Ben.
no, but I just remember it being very interesting, and like all of a sudden the name Tinky Winky becomes really
Tinky Winky.
oh, Tinky Winky. It's
And
like,
do they
oh.
still say oh?
I think so. I mean, it's been a while, Jill, I'll be honest.
I mean, you've not done your research there, Ben. It's almost as if we hadn't planned to talk about this rubbish.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be talking about the Teletubbies in French, to be honest. But hey, that's just where this podcast
Where
goes.
we roll. It's just how we roll.
Anyway,
for anybody watching on the video as well on the YouTube or the Facebook, I'm in a different room.
you are in a different room. I like this background, Jill.
Do you? Okay.
I do. I like these. I feel like you've almost dressed for it as well in a jumper with mountains on the background.
Today, mostly, I will be pretending to be on a ski holiday.
Yeah, and I'm still in my darkened void.
Yes, please. Can you not just change that back to the green screen and put something behind yourself?
The trouble is, if I put it with a green screen, there's two issues with the green screen. The first one is it slows down the video.
Right.
And obviously, we kind of rely on the recordings. But the other thing, which I was telling somebody the other day, was the reason I have a green screen up is when I'm then teaching, because I'm a drama teacher, when I'm teaching online, someone, like, if someone screenshots me, they could put me in all sorts of locations. I could have like someone's bum in my face, I could just see it happening, and I can't.
Did you see that story on social media about the child who's been on online lessons and changed their name to Reconnecting?
Yeah.
So that the teacher wouldn't ask them a question. That's brilliant.
Very clever.
Brilliant.
Very clever.
Very clever.
Getting too smart, you see, and they're saying that this online learning that they're missing out on education. Those are skills. Those are life skills.
Proper skills. Yeah.
That's clever. Final thing though, Jill, before we talk about our topic of the week, obviously we're filming this on a Sunday, although it does go live Friday. Tonight on the BBC, it's the musicals, The Greatest Show, celebration of musical theatre.
Yes.
I'm excited. Are you?
I'm excited. Do you know what I've done? I've set it to tape. Now that's a very elderly way. That's an elderly phrase, meaning I've put it on Sky to record, Sky Q, whatever it's called. But I always say I set it to tape because I think at that point I'll be eating my Asian feast being prepared by my children this evening.
Ooh, very exciting. That does sound exciting. Yeah, I know. I've Sky Plused it for sure. That's going to be very exciting. Nice celebration of theatre.
Oh, we love a bit of musicals. We do. I know. Sometimes you just got to put your musicals playlist on, Ben, in the kitchen and sing very loudly. Sometimes that's what you've got to do.
I mean, that's most of my normal playlist. My go-to playlist is mostly musical theatre. So it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to tonight. Yeah. But before we invite our special guest on in a bit, let's start talking about our topic of the week.
Topic of the week. That was better that time. It's more in tune.
I was talking to you before we started recording about my long to-do list. I'm going to create a theme tune to replace Jill's onto that list right now.
Well, I mean, I think, Ben, if you do that, then those many listeners abroad might really go up in arms because I feel like they're tuning in just for that.
Yeah, I think you might be mixing that one up, Jill. But anyway, topic of the week. So let me read to you.
Read it out, Ben.
Our topic of the week was that we posted on our Facebook page. Remember, you can follow it and give us your thoughts. So the topic of the week was, what story, true or fictional, would you love to see adapted into a musical or a play? So a good, very, I think it's an exciting topic, lots to think about. So I think there's, obviously, in general, lots of things have been adapted into musicals. And you think, most musicals are inspired by something that is true or a story told before. If you think about things in the West End at the moment, you look at, say, everybody's talking about Jamie. It's based, roughly on a true story.
On a documentary, what was on the BBC, yep.
Yeah. Come From Away, based on the 9/11 terror attacks and how Small Place in Canada dealt with like the people that were diverted to them. And then you look at there's lots of movie adaptations at the moment, very popular. Sometimes I think those movie adaptations are even better than the original movie. Yeah. Legally Blonde, I'm looking at you.
My Katie
Yeah.
has a theory, Ben. Can I share it early doors?
Share the theory.
Well, interestingly, because obviously I'm very dull, so I was having this conversation with her on a walk, you know, as you do. And I was saying, what about this? What about that? She's saying, no, because those things are too good, Mum. What you want for a musical is something that's not absolutely epic in its original form, that when you add the songs to it for a musical, it improves it, which I thought was quite interesting.
I think that's a good point, you know.
I said something like The Breakfast Club, which is an absolute epic film that we both very much enjoyed, and she was like, "Oh no, and it's too good as it is. You don't want to ruin that by artificially bursting into song."
No, that is a good point.
How we sum up musicals, isn't
it? It's about finding a story that songs and music will support, because especially if you're picking a musical, I mean, it's different if you're looking to adapt something into a play. Yeah, you need something that can be, the music is going to be, you know, it's going to add to that story in some way.
Definitely. There must be a COVID the musical at some point.
Oh, at some point,
when pandemic hits and what happens.
Some point.
And there'll be a very good scene that's all about Zoom and saying the phrases like, "You're still on mute, you're on mute, get off the Wi-Fi." Those kind of things will become songs. They'll become classic songs in the future.
I mean, maybe we can write it, Jill. Maybe that's our... Come on every so often, just as a giant, like one of those, the COVID, like molecule thingy, majiggy, whatever it's called.
Yeah. I like your vision there. Yeah. What ideas did you have, Ben?
Oh, me personally.
What ideas did people have?
I'll tell you what some of the people, okay, our people thought before I go through some of mine. So here's one. Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Was that Mandy Cox? It was Mandy Cox, yes. Yeah. Shaun of the Dead. Imagine all the great stage makeup and so many opportunities for corny song choices.
She loves to do the makeup. She absolutely loves it.
I feel like it would make a good like comedy musical, maybe with like jukebox musical though, like popular songs rather than original, maybe more than original songs. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So here a few more.
Go on.
I mean, Jenny Healy suggested her life story.
Yes. But it works best when you're drunk. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we would have to
that's the title of the musical. She works best when she's drunk.
The only issue with the Jenny Healy life story is we would have to cast someone who can't remember their lines.
For people listening on podcast, I took a swig of tea at just the wrong moment there and very nearly spat on the laptop.
Sorry about that. Good timing. Jenny would agree. But yes, a popular one that has been shared is the life of Sir Captain Tom Moore.
Yes.
Who passed away last week, aged 100. I think a good story. I think maybe more a play, that one, the musical. I think like a really inspiring. I feel like
when he's doing his walk with his Zimmer frame, there could be a good dance routine in that.
Yeah, but you know what will happen? We'll end up with like the Proclaimers singing 500 miles. Yeah, I would walk
500 laps, and I would walk 50 laps, and then I would walk 50 more.
50 more. I feel like
I could rewrite the words to that if you want me to.
I just feel like it'd be a bit too cheesy. Might not be.
Okay, fair enough.
Live up to his legacy.
No. Sorry, I'm now blowing my nose as well, everybody. Sorry.
But you're getting emotional about
COVID. It's not the COVID, it's just a runny nose.
It's a runny nose, that's all right. But yeah, I think that would make a really nice play.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. Did you see the ones a lot of people have obviously got very hot under the collar about Bridgerton?
Bridgerton, yes, that
came up, didn't it?
Bridgerton did come up. Bridgerton, I mean, I've not watched Bridgerton.
I've not watched it either.
I know it's like Downton Abbey meets some elements of like 50 Shades.
Debbie does Dallas, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. No.
I mean, the thing is, I always wonder with like shows, because there was stories about a 50 Shades of Grey musical, just linking with that. But you just sort of think, but at what point does that turn really awkward into a live show?
Well, there is that, isn't there? I mean, those moments of that. I think my husband's mother, lovely Grandma Kay, says,
she's not going to be in it, is she?
Look at your sandals moments. You can't have a musical with too many look at your sandals moments, can you, for the children?
No.
Look at your sandals.
Just a bit awkward. Might be a bit awkward.
Yeah, we watched Shakespeare in Love the other day. There were one or two moments of Look at your sandals.
Look at your sandals. I like that. I'm gonna use that.
Okay.
But yeah, Bridgerton. I mean, I can't comment on it as a story, but you know, something like a classical period, like a Downton Abbey type thing, might be interesting. Who knows?
The costumes would be great.
Oh, costumes would be amazing.
Jeanette from Wacky Wardrobe. We're talking about you.
Wacky Wardrobe in Banbury. I'll go to costume supplier, definitely. She'd love it. We'll have her on sometime as a guest for sure.
Oh, yes.
So then our friend and fellow Avocet Theatre Company committee member Louise suggested many ideas.
She went nuts for it, didn't she?
She went crazy for it. So she suggested, she'd already apparently when she was younger started adapting Grease 2 for the stage.
I mean, literally, why? Nobody even wants to watch it as a movie, let alone as a musical. It's just so worrying.
So we had it all worked out, including the Cool Rider number and how it would get the bike sequence in. She's got set design somewhere.
Bless her. Literally, somebody help her. Give us some booze, somebody.
She also suggested, and I like this idea, I think this would be a good one, Blackbeard, the pirate musical. The story of Blackbeard. He's a really fascinating guy, born into a middle-class family in Bristol, sailed with merchant ships, and then became a pirate, obviously the Queen Anne's Revenge. I mean, it could be an interesting story, that. It could be an interesting musical. And then she put another one, last one, I promise, a musical version of the film Princess Bride.
Now you see, now we're getting somewhere.
So it's got adventure, excitement, and lots of awesome parts for a range of people, plus sword fights and brilliant lines and jokes.
Yeah, you see, I went down the kind of rom-com route with my thinking as well, because obviously quite recently Sleepless in Seattle's just been done, Pretty Woman's just being done. So I wondered about My Best Friend's Wedding, which is one of my strange secret rom-com special favourites, and also Four Weddings and a Funeral's not been made into a musical.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting one.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I have quite a long list of ideas actually.
Go on.
I started writing. I mean, I want to save some for our special guest to get thought.
Okay, all right.
But
give us one. Go on, tease us, Ben. Tease us with one.
So, I was thinking, I know apparently this is already a musical-ish, but it's old and it's not been adapted recently.
You're basically just regurgitating old ideas, Ben. Is that what you're saying?
But basically, I know that The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is a musical. Right?
Okay.
Apparently, I haven't heard it, and I don't think it's done a lot anymore. But I think the whole Chronicles of Narnia could have a whole done really sort of stylistically, with
would you make like the proscenium arch a bit like the wardrobe, and you could have clothes that you push across?
Yes, that's the opening. It opens up,
isn't it? Yeah.
You could do all sorts. You could combine different elements of the different stories from the Chronicles of Narnia.
Couldn't you? And a very good use of a lion costume.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Maybe quite an abstract way of portraying the lion, or done through puppets like Warhorse.
Or Avenue Q.
Nah,
more like Warhorse. More like.
I feel like the depth needs more like Warhorse rather than the old Sesame Street style puppets.
Yeah, very good.
But that could be a good one. But that's just one of them. I've got lots more that I can't wait to discuss.
To talk about. Well, shall we welcome on our guest?
I think it's time to welcome on our guest, and we'll have a chat with her about some of her ideas as well as what she does. So we're very.
Remember this week, Ben, because last week you didn't. I mean, feedback's a gift, obviously. Just take a little minute when our guest arrives to introduce them, make them feel comfortable, ask them some warm-up questions, okay? I do a lot of interviewing, and I just, just throwing that in. All right?
I was sticking straight to the topic of the week.
Straight in there. Pooh! Hello, Jamie. Bang!
But we got all the other questions in there along the way. It was a journey rather than a planned out thing. Anyway, to our special guest, we're very delighted to have her on. Someone who is involved locally in our area with lots of different amateur theatre and has lots of ideas for our topic of the week. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our special guest for this week, Amanda Anderson. Hello, Amanda. Amanda.
Oh, hello, Amanda. Look at you, gorgeous lady.
Hello, how are you both?
We're all right, not
We're
too
good.
bad.
How have you been, Amanda?
Good, yeah, not too bad at all recently.
So
Good. You enjoying lockdown 3?
I don't know that enjoying is
No.
the right word. It's been a lot harder than, like you were saying last week, the first lockdown was like new and exciting almost. And I think the fact that it was like really nice weather
Yeah, that did
really helped with that first lockdown, because everyone was just like out in the sun and you feel good. And then, kind of it sort of started to go back to normal-ish, with the restrictions easing. And I've still been working, so it's kind of been normal-ish from that point of view. And this, sort of before Christmas and this lockdown, I think it's like, again,
Yeah.
and like mental resilience is kind of starting to flag, and we're
And
holding on to the hope that there's
I
light at the end of the tunnel. But
yeah, and I feel really sorry because people are about to approach their second birthdays in lockdown, which is, oh, lovely.
yeah, thankfully no big ones, so I don't feel like I've missed out too much. But I'm kind of also thinking, well, if I have had 2 birthdays in lockdown, I'm not going to count them on my age.
No, they don't count.
No, they don't count. That's exactly the case.
Absolutely right.
So, Amanda, tell us, first of all, tell us what you do in the real world.
Oh, in the real world, I have a really exciting job. My official title is Facilities Manager and Safety Officer. For a long time, I worked as a research scientist at Oxford University for most of my career in the field of cancer research. And then I'd kind of reached as far as I wanted to go. I'd never really wanted to be, sort of a group leader or anything like that. And so I also kind of, having in recent years rediscovered my passion for sort of musical theatre, thought I'd have a midlife crisis and think about changing career totally into the world of theatre and kind of, behind the scenes stuff. So took this role as a sort of stepping stone to get professional experience of all those essential skills on my CV and stuff. And then Corona came and the theatre world is on its knees. So we'll see whether that long-term plan still hangs out or not. But yeah, the middle of a global pandemic is perhaps not the best time to get into a health and safety role. It was quite intense.
Yeah, I can imagine. So obviously, that's what you do in the real world, which I think, amazing, a very, a big, important job. Tell us about your experience in terms of amateur theatre then. When did you start, as the podcast is called, treading the boards?
Wow, I started treading the boards actually like at secondary school. I was quite, well, I had a bit of a weird path. I was quite late to sort of drama. At secondary school, I hated drama, like in English lessons. We had sort of quite teachers that were quite approaching retirement, who perhaps weren't as dynamic as some of the newer drama teachers. And then we did.
She doesn't mean you, Ben. She doesn't mean you. Stop it.
She's basically saying, Ben, can you teach?
She wasn't.
Yeah.
Can I be a student?
But we then got at the school a new drama teacher who was, young, dynamic, full of energy, full of ideas, and he put on a whole school show, which he had written with, his musician friend. And I was like, okay, I might give that a go, because I've always loved singing. So, and I absolutely loved it. And then sort of told afterwards, because I was in the 6th form at this point, so like year 12. And I was kind of told then by, like my year head and my tutors and everything. So, oh, well, yeah, well done for getting involved. But, now you've got to focus on your A levels, going to university, whatever it is that you're going to do. So I kind of had it, that little spark that I had was kind of almost crushed out of me. And for a long time, I didn't do anything, never really sort of thought about it again. Until after, when Sophie, my daughter, was 6, I had a very severe episode of depression. I sort of suffered with mental health issues on and off throughout my adult life. And as part of the sort of therapy for that, I was like, seeing a counsellor. And it was about rediscovering discovering who Amanda was. And you know, Amanda was someone who loved music, loved musical theatre, so I kind of decided I'd give it another shot to see if it was something that, you know, I still felt this passion for, still had an enjoyment for. So that's when I joined the group in Bicester Choral and Operatic Society, because they did a mix of choral performances and then stage shows as well, so it was kind of a nice gentle step in that I'd still sort of sang in choirs and things like that, and then there was, you know, the stage show that they did. So my first stage show with them was the Mikado, and I'm not a big GNS fan, but the buzz of show week just had me hooked. You know, I was like, yes, this is what I'm loving. And so then I performed with them for a few years, and I had some amazing roles. I played Miss Adelaide in Guys and Dolls.
That's my dream part. That's my dream part.
It's such a feature role. And I played Dolly in Hello Dolly, which was great. And then I joined Boss as well, sort of, you know, had a bit of a crossover. And yeah, had, you know, again, brilliant role, Sister Act with Dolores, and then playing Sir Robin in Spamalot, which was just hilarious. So yeah, and it's been a real it's been brilliant to have it back in my life, and it has really helped like nourish me, and really sort of connect and figure out who I am again and build up that confidence, and, you know, all those things that have kind of taken a knock over the years. So it's been really important and really wonderful.
Yeah.
You see, interestingly, I've known you for a number of years, but only ever kind of the theatre, Amanda. So it's just so nice to hear your backstory in a way, and that's really lovely. Excellent.
So Amanda, obviously, me and you met when you, like you say, when you joined Banbury Operatic Society, and obviously I was involved. So the real question is, what's it like working with me? No, it's not. The real, don't answer that. The real question is, obviously, you...
Because we're not allowed to swear.
We can't be explicit.
We just said we'd have to stop the recording if you said that word.
It's bloody great. No. What I was going to ask is, you obviously, so you've taken on roles with Banbury Operatic Society, but you're also the treasurer for Banbury Operatic Society. So you're taking on like a committee role. And obviously we're looking at amateur theatre. I think often people don't realise just how much work goes on from that end. People just sort of see the show and think that's that, but don't realise that there's a committee working hard. How do you find that role? You know, obviously it's a big role as treasurer. How do you find doing such a big role for a group? And also, I think this is important because we were talking about the other week, the idea of doing a role like that is something you're not paid for, but it's quite major.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I've always been someone who is very keen to kind of get in, help out. If I've got skills where I can, you know, contribute something, then absolutely, that's something I've always kind of been keen to do. The treasurer role, I probably initially wouldn't have like taken it on, other than I'd had some experience also with being on committee at BCOS, so I'd kind of seen what did and didn't work in terms of, you know, being treasurer and how much work it was and that kind of thing. So I was confident it was something that I could do. And, you know, it's being on the committee, I think, is a really nice way. You get a lot more out of it. You know, like if you're joined a society and you're coming to rehearsals and you're performing and all that sort of thing, and that's great. But for me, I get so much from that side of it that I feel I need to give a bit back as well. So sort of being on the committee seemed like, you know, a really good way of doing that. And, you know, the treasurer thing is, it gets a bit intense around showtime when there's like all sorts of money coming in and out and everything. But on the whole, it's not too taxing a job, just as having, you know, just become a charity. There's probably going to be a lot more to do in the near future, but yeah, it keeps me sort of feeling that I'm giving something back, so that, you know, it's a nice sort of two-way. So
excellent. Excellent. Well, let's pick her brains about topic of the week, Ben. Topic of the week, 3 times.
That's a jingle.
I'm definitely going to find a replacement jingle. But yes, let's talk a bit about our topic of the week. I do have some few more questions, but we're going to go topic of the week. So have you seen our topic of the week, Amanda?
I have, yes. And at first...
Any ideas?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, that's really easy. I know exactly what I'd go with. And then I started thinking about it, and there was just like this whole explosion in my brain of like, oh my God. So the easy question, the easy answer for me initially, straight off, thinking about it, would be the movie Tangled. It's in my
list
the best Disney movie ever. That might be a slightly unpopular opinion, but there's Frozen fans out there. But I think it's amazing. It's got everything, and already has got amazing songs written for it. So, in terms of yes, definitely. You fill out those polls on Facebook, kind of thing. Yeah, Tangled would be top of my list.
Yeah, Tangled was on my list actually of good ones. Because it's such a it's a really overlooked Disney film, I think, with great songs.
Yeah.
The one when they're in the boat, what's it called? Last They See the Boat. Right. I remember, just a quick story about that. I was in Disneyland Paris, and they were doing, like the nighttime fireworks display where they project onto the castle. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's amazing. Yeah. And that song started playing in the projection, and I started getting emotional. I don't know why, but it was just powerful, and that's why I thought, that would be a good stage show.
Definitely.
Sure. Very good.
Definitely.
I don't really know it. I don't know why.
Oh, Gill, you have to watch it. It's brilliant. It's got this most amazing horse in it called Maximus, who's just fantastic.
Always love a talking horse ever since Mr. Ed.
He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. No, but the expressions and the neighing and all just the looks he gives, it says all it needs to say.
She's basically saying she's attracted to a horse.
Yeah.
Okay, make a note, Ben.
Kind of in love with this horse. Get over the horse, Amanda.
What else? What's next on your list, lovely? It's like Desert Island Discs, isn't it, this?
Yeah, I know, isn't it? Yeah. Next on my list would be a movie that I think could visually on stage be really quite something, and that's Edward Scissorhands.
Yes.
Because I think that's just, that's obviously the sort of darker feeling. And it's almost a bit like the sort of Beauty and the Beast with this, scary creature thing up in the castle, and then, the townspeople. But obviously he comes down into the town and learns to live amongst them. And I just think it would just lend itself perfectly to the sort of theatrical world.
Definitely. And another good one for makeup and costumes.
Yeah, definitely.
Always good. We always like to mention.
The health and safety for that costume would be worrying though, wouldn't it? Just cutting the wing tabs down as you walk past.
Sandbags landing on people's heads. Do you remember, Ben Coleman, when we actually did lose a backdrop in the middle of a banto?
Oh, I do remember when we lost.
And did you not lose a glitter ball in the middle of?
Oh, we've got to talk about that story, Amanda. Tell us the story of the infamous glitter ball.
Oh, the infamous glitter ball in Sister Act. Yeah. It was a scene between me and Eddie, who was played by Glenn Wheeler, and I'd just kind of been released from the convent, as Dolores had just been released from the convent, and she was staying at Eddie's house until the trial could happen. And I was sat on his bed, and we were just about to go into this amazing song and this whole sort of, dream sort of sequence thing. And I was sat on this bed, and there was like a backdrop behind me, and I was just delivering my line, and I had this almighty crash. And I sort of delivered my line with a half scream of like, but I really like cheesesteak. Looking at Glenn, like, what the hell happened there? And him looking at me going, I have no idea. And so I was like, well, no one's shouting at me to stop. The curtains aren't closing, so let's just carry on. And, we sort of carried on through the scene with people behind, putting brushes underneath the curtain, just like sweep up bits of glitter ball across the stage.
Actually, we probably ruined something there, Ben, because we should have a topic one week of things that have gone wrong. Hey,
yeah,
that's a good topic. I'll add that to the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a memorable moment for sure. The glitter.
It was, yeah. There was a
I'm
slight
not going to
rumour
list
that
off the others because I just thought of another one as well.
Oh.
But I'll save it now for when we do that.
Maybe that should be our next topic of the
Maybe
week,
that
because we're
should.
excited for show mistakes.
that would be a good one.
But yeah, no, that was a good one. Shall I tell you a couple of my other?
Yeah,
Okay.
go on.
I'll share through. So, have any of you seen? Did any of you ever watch the TV show Smash?
Yes.
No.
So,
Blonde
Amanda,
bombshell.
Bombshell. Amanda, you've got to watch Smash.
Okay.
It only aired for 2 seasons and they cancelled it prematurely, in my opinion. But it's about Broadway, and it's about them deciding to stage a show, and they decide to stage it about Marilyn Monroe's life, and they call it Bombshell.
Okay.
And it's like the drama going on behind the scenes, but they have, like, in each episode they have a different song for the, like, that they're going to be rehearsing for this show, and the music is, I mean, it's on my playlists. It is amazing. And the fact, like, there's talk that they are possibly going to turn it into the Bombshell bit, like the show within the
actual show.
They're going to turn it into a musical, but they so should. It's some of the best music written for stage.
Really good. Yeah.
But like in terms of like the drama going on behind the scenes, you'll love it. I don't think it's on any streaming site. I think you can buy it on Amazon or something.
Yes, we watched it recently. I made Katie watch it recently, so we definitely got it somewhere. I can't think which one of those we got it on.
Okay.
Yeah, very good.
You've got it on DVD. I'll lend it you.
What else, Benjamin? Go on, another one.
Obviously, the one that they've got to turn into, which I'm sure, I think I've heard they are, is obviously The Greatest Showman.
Oh yeah, gosh! I'm just in my head. I've just assumed because it is a musical film that it is going to be.
It will be one day. I mean, it's obviously everything going on. It was going to be a musical.
I mean, I'm going for the lockdown beard to see whether I can get a starring role in that.
Bearded lady.
The bearded lady. Here I come.
And then I've got 3 ideas for
for God's sake, Ben! Did we ask you for any more?
But these are real life stories that I think.
All right, go on.
The first one, which I don't want to turn into it, but I can just see it happening. Tiger King. I can just see it.
Oh God!
Yes. You are
like a parody musical. I can just see it. That's one.
Yeah.
The recent from the weekend, the Handforth Parish Council. Why is that not a musical yet?
Oh my God!
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, for our American listeners, they won't.
If you can get it, I'm sure it's gone. I want to be Jackie Weaver.
Or AKA.
You have no authority.
Have their authority to write.
I'm going to just turn you off, Amanda. I'm just going to turn you off.
But then the other one, the actual like serious one, I thought, that could be quite a good like story. You know, the like Studio 54 in America. You know, like they had like all those crazy stories and celebrities and weird, strange things going on, and I just feel like that could be a really interesting like basis of a musical. I don't know what would happen there.
Yeah.
Maybe like quite episodic and almost like Cats, but at Studio 54, you find out different people's stories.
Like Cats, but better. My least favourite. I'm sorry, it's my least favourite musical. That and Annie. Those are the 2 I don't like.
Yeah. I'm with you on Annie, definitely.
Not mad keen.
Yeah.
Do we have any other ideas then for the topic of the week?
Yes, please, sir. Yes, please. I don't know if you've read it, but Richard Osman's book, The Thursday Murder Club, is epic. And I think the film rights have already gone, but and it will be an amazing film because and the reason I've gone for it is because it's got older characters in it. And I'm just thinking ahead. Ben. By the time that's a musical, we'll all be at the right age.
She was just working out what parts she can play.
Yes, it's the only criteria, basically. So yeah, Thursday Murder Club, Richard Osman. If you haven't read it, read the book. It's very, very good.
Yeah, I might.
Amanda, do you have any other thoughts, ideas?
The other sort of slightly obvious one, I think, a bit like along the lines of the Greatest Showman thing, with all like the jukebox musicals that there are now, it always struck me as odd that no one had ever done anything using Elton John's music. And then when I watched Rocket Man, when that came out, I was sort of like sitting there watching Taron Egerton romp his way through Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting and thinking, this on the stage, this needs to be on the stage. Yeah. So I would love to see that on the stage. I think that would be really.
I bet that will happen. I reckon someone's plotting that.
As I say, a bit like The Great Showman, you kind of look at it and think, surely someone is making the connection here. The other thing that I think would probably be quite cool to do in a really sort of out there way, I was like trying to think about, you know, sort of great events in the world. Like man landing on the moon and that whole story. I think that could be quite sort of cool to do something like that.
Nice effects as well. You could have
Yeah,
some nice effects.
exactly.
I mean, and then you can just also use the song Rocket Man again.
Yeah.
Link
Yeah.
Elton John and the moon just combined.
Elton John's music for that
could be
stage show. There we go. And then the third one that I kind of thought of in terms of, you know, because like sort of real life stories seem to be quite popular as well at the moment to turn into musicals. No doubt somebody somewhere is writing Sir Captain Tom the musical, you know. But the person that I thought would be really, and I was just blown away when I read his book, was Nelson Mandela.
Yeah.
And that whole African music, you know, I really love that kind of music, and you know, something like that, because I think he had such an impact on the world, you know, and the trials and tribulations that he went through, and being in prison for all those years, and to then come out and kind of, you know, be the president of his people. Was
I've just done
amazing.
an autobiography, because I always get an autobiography for Christmas. I've just done Victoria Wood's one. She didn't write it because she's dead, but
Yeah.
somebody else wrote it about her. So don't laugh at that. So I'm just stating a fact.
Very blunt,
but obviously, if you did a musical of Victoria's life, she's already written the song.
Yes. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it tonight.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I know. I'd do
that could work.
That would be very funny.
It would be.
Yeah.
I think
no doubt Mrs. Overall would make another.
And I get a chance to live out my dream, which is to be Julie Walters.
Yeah.
I think what this tells us, though, and what we've got to remember, is that obviously really, as long as you've got a good story and good music, almost anything can be turned. Let's look
Absolutely.
at Hamilton.
Yeah.
Hamilton. If you try and pitch that to somebody, it's the most boring idea, which is let's follow America's first Treasury Secretary.
Yes.
It's the biggest musical in the world, is Hamilton.
Yeah. But there's so many like that. You know, I mean, like Dear Evan Hansen. Oh, it's a lie that got told in a high school. Well, okay, great. You know, Chess, the story of a strategic board game set in the Cold War between Russia and America. I mean, I'd rather watch
but please God, not Trump. We don't want Trump.
I don't think we're ready for Trump the musical.
Or Boris. Oh, please God, no. Let's not go back to politics and tits from last week, please.
We really got through it. Anyway.
But yeah. Yes. Anything could be a musical if you've got the right writer or the right like take on things, because like, you know, some of the recent ones have been looking at things against the conventional story, you know, like Six is the tale of Henry VIII, but from the point of view of the wives, which is not ever told, you know. So I think if you have an interesting twist on something that may have already been done as well,
which is one of the reasons Wicked is so popular.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
But we need to come back to you again, lovely lady. As I understand it, you had been directing a musical that was supposed to just about to go on when lockdown 1 hit. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So in a committee meeting, I might have mentioned that there may be a slight interest in perhaps directing at some point in the very distant future, when I've had some, you know, training or a mentor or something like that. And then lo and behold, I get landed with, oh, you can do the next show then, you know. So yeah, so Ghost was the musical, and we'd started rehearsing in November of 2019, and you know, cast everything. We'd hit a few bumps along the way, but we were everything was just starting to kind of come together, and you know, we were getting to that frantic bit of the rehearsal period where you're thinking we're never going to get there. You're trying to think about costumes and lighting and sets and everything, and then yeah, you know, lockdown kind of came, and it was all the theatres shut overnight, and we kind of, as a society and a cast, took the decision that, you know, we would have to postpone this, and then, you know, the venue closed anyway, so it was never going to happen. And you know, at that point it was like, well, you know, maybe after Easter we'll see what like, who'd have thought, you know, a year later we'd still be sort of looking glumly at what might happen for theatres and theatre groups. So yeah, it was a very different experience being on, you know, the other side of a show, and just the million questions that you constantly get asked, you know, everybody wanting to know, well, what should I do about that, and where do we have to stand for this? And then you're also trying to think about, you know, Graham talking about lighting and somebody else talking about sound and Nick talking about music. And yeah, it was a bit of a kind of like, oh my God, I was so grateful I had Ben there, because Ben was the choreographer. And so, you know, I could just kind of go to him and go, and he'd be like, it's fine, it's okay. You know? But an amazing cast, and we will get to do it again, you know, at some point. We're kind of just waiting to see what happens in terms of when we can get back to rehearsing again. And we're also at the mercy of, there's a professional tour of Ghost, or there was a professional tour of Ghost planned. So if that still goes ahead, that might also dictate when we can do it because of performing rights. But definitely, we will get to do it, and you know, the amazing cast that we've got, and they've just been brilliant. You know, the first time I ever saw Ghost, I had goosebumps at the end of Act 1. There's just this amazing set of songs that build to this sort of end of Act 1 finale. And I got those same goosebumps in the rehearsal hall with our cast, and it's just like, yeah, no, the world needs to see this, definitely. So one day we will do it.
Everything crossed that Banbury gets to see it soon.
Yeah.
And do you think, obviously, with it being your first experience as a director, obviously taking out the whole COVID
global pandemic thing,
just a minor thing.
I won't blame you for that. But taking that,
well, I'm sure.
Taking that out of it, how have you found that first experience as a director? Like, would you recommend it to others? Because that, I think, is one of the, lots of people want to perform, but sometimes you don't necessarily get the production teams. So would you encourage others?
Yeah, definitely. If it's something that they're thinking of, you know, that they might like to do, then definitely. It certainly gives you a real appreciation for just the little things, like, you know, not chatting when the director's trying to talk to everybody, that sort of thing. You kind of, you know, I know now I'll never do that again if I'm in a cast, because I know, you know, how frustrating it can be. And I think it gives you a real insight into just what goes into putting on a show. Because like you were saying earlier, you know, people turn up and do a show and that's fine. And but this, you know, you really kind of go, oh my God, goodness, there's just this plethora of things that you kind of have to think about. I know at boss committees, they've been talking about having, sort of trying to establish some sort of like mentorship sort of scheme. And I think, I suspect there's probably quite a few people out there who would like to do it, but maybe don't feel confident enough to kind of step up and give it a go. And you know, as I had originally said, you know, if I could be like an assistant or something and sort of learn the ropes with somebody, then great. And I think if there's something, sort of, you know, some sort of mentorship thing in place, then I think a lot more people probably would. And then, you know, it's great because then you get so many different ideas for things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
fantastic.
I mean, we are running out of time soon. I've still got lots of questions. We have to have you back on at some point. One thing we haven't talked about that I just want to quickly ask you, though, is obviously, as well as doing all of this stuff that you do for Banbury Practice Society and doing your stuff with BCOS, you're also on the committee with me for the youth group, which is Yobbos. How do you find that? What do you get out of that? Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I have a similar role. I'm the treasurer now for Yobbos, so it's just kind of a natural extension of the stuff that I do for Boss. But when I first sort of got involved behind the scenes with Yobbos, it was a real, what's the word? Not conflict, but you know, I wanted to get involved because you were doing Legally Blonde, which is like just one of my all-time favourite musicals. And it was like, you know, my daughter Sophie was in the cast. I'd been, you know, member of Boss now, you know, so it was like, yeah, I was saying earlier, you know, join in, help, add skills wherever I can. So I was like really keen to do that, and my favourite show. But I was a bit concerned that I was just going to feel a little bit jealous almost because I wasn't the one on the stage, you know, performing and doing whatever. And you know, that the role of Paulette is just one of my dream roles to perform at some point. But actually, and sort of slightly unexpectedly, I got so much more of a buzz from like helping to create this thing that these kids came out and performed amazingly. And I think that's where I kind of got the drive and the idea to sort of look at production management as something to do, and then hence taking it on for Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
By the way, amazing job as production manager.
Thank you. But yeah, that I hadn't expected to feel that kind of sense of achievement and pride in other people, that weren't like my own kids or whatever. Obviously, Sophie was there, but yeah, and it was just it really shocked me how much I kind of got from that in terms of personal satisfaction.
It sounds cliche, but it really is rewarding, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
With youth groups and stuff, it's very
rewarding. Definitely. And it's so important as well for them to have. You was talking last week about youth groups and mental health and that kind of thing. But yeah, just having that place where they learn so many other life skills. And it builds confidence, and it gives you abilities to step into those situations that you might not normally. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and yeah, I love being involved in the Oggos.
Well,
fantastic.
We having you involved. I mean, I think you're amazing, Amanda, and I love working with you and having you as a friend, and working with you and bouncing ideas and performing with you, and I can't wait till we get to do it all again very soon.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Great stuff.
But thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us, and thank you to everyone else for listening.
All your ideas as well this week have been fab.
We will get out our topic of the week very soon. And
do you want me to sing it?
No. We've heard it enough. But we'll get our next week's topic of the week out soon, along with a new special guest, I'm sure. And remember, you can obviously find us on Facebook and YouTube, which is Treading the Boards, the Amateur Theatre Podcast, or you can search for that on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and now the 2 new ones, Apple Podcasts and Amazon as well. We're on us. We're everywhere, and we're international. Remember the
internationally acclaimed Treading the Boards. I'm from Banbury.
Internationally renowned.
Household name? No, we're not. Anyway, thank you all. Have a lovely.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Dance. You have to dance as the music plays, Amanda.